We will now show you how to add a new daily trip to your catch report. A daily trip is a log of all your fishing information for a single day. A daily trip includes all the information you are accustomed to reporting on your paper catch reports, including items such as the lake and grid where you fished, the gear used, the species of fish caught, the vessel used, any notable comments about the trip, and more. To start filling out a new daily trip, click the New Daily Trip button near the top of the dashboard. Then click the day on the calendar that you wish to report your fishing information. Keep in mind that at any point while filling out a daily trip, you can click the Save and Close button at the top of the daily trip page and return to finish that daily trip report at a later point in time. That is a convenient feature in case you get sidetracked from completing the trip report. You can also go back to the previous screen if you need to make a change or see what you selected. The first step is to select the date of the fishing trip that you want to log. Then click Continue. You will see the selected date showing at the top of the next screens, so you always know the date of the daily trip you are entering. The second step is to select the lake and grids where you fished. To choose a lake, either select the lake from the drop-down menu, or just start clicking on the grid or grids, and the lake will be automatically selected. When you are done selecting the grid or grids where you fished, click Continue. Note that you can also manually type in the grid number in the grid box, then click the Select button. Next, select the gear that you used on that particular day. Remember, you can only select one type of gear for any daily trip. If you fished more than one type of gear in a single day, such as large mesh gill nets and trap nets, you will need to submit a separate daily trip record for each type of gear used. If you do that, you will need to record the species and pounds landed from each gear type. If the gear you wish to select is not immediately shown on the screen, click the Show More Gear button to see the full list of available gear types. Once the gear has been selected, enter the additional gear-related information and click Continue. Note that certain information is required in order to submit a completed report. The required information is labeled Required in red font. Other information is optional, but still useful for management purposes, so if you have that information, please fill in those boxes. The next step is to enter the amount of gear you fished on your daily trip. This is referred to as fishing effort. If you fished in only one grid on this day, the total amount of effort will be reported from that grid. But when you fish in more than one grid, you will need to split the total effort between grids. For this example, we assumed that only one grid was fished, so we will type in the total amount of net we lifted on this day. The type of information that is needed for reporting effort will vary depending on the gear selected, so different gear may have different information, but only the boxes with red labels are required by the fishing regulations. Once you have filled out the effort information, click Continue. The next step relates to your harvest. The harvest section is where details about the species of fish caught is recorded. You will need to click on the species you caught from list shown on the screen, but if you don't see the correct species, click on the Show More Species button for a full list. Similar to the effort section, if you fished in only one grid, you will not need to worry about splitting your harvest information between grids. But if you fished in more than one grid, you will need to report how much of each species was caught in each grid. Let's go over an example. If 100 pounds of whitefish and 200 pounds of lake trout were landed on the day, you would first click on whitefish and type 100 into the total weight landed box. Second, you would click on the appropriate condition, which means that poundage is round weight, dressed weight, or weight of fillets. Next, you would click on lake trout and type 200 into total weight landed, then click on the appropriate condition. You would repeat this process for each species you caught on this daily trip. You also have the option to add discarded weight if you know or can estimate those pounds. Once you have recorded information for all species you landed that day, click Continue. The next step is to indicate the vessel you used for this daily trip. You can either select a previously saved vessel or add a new vessel by clicking on the New Vessel button. If you did not use a vessel on this daily trip, click the No Vessel option. Adding a new vessel here will save it for future daily trips, so you won't have to retype it each time. Next, if you know the name of the launch or mooring site, type in the name, then click Continue. The final step in completing a daily trip report is to review the information you entered to ensure that it is correct. If anything is incorrect, click either the Edit or Back button to return to the appropriate screen and make the necessary changes. On this review screen, you also have the option to include buyer and fish sale information and to type in comments regarding your daily trip. Clicking on Add Buyer will allow you to input a fish buyer's name, and if you wish, the weight and price of each species sold to that buyer. Keep in mind that you can print all the information on every daily trip, including buyer-related information. This might be helpful for your personal record keeping. Once you are done, click on the Save and Close button and you'll see this daily trip information added to the Recent Daily Trips table,